Darkness. Then a sound, soft at first, teeth chattering. Tap, tap, tap. Fast, uncontrollable. A sliver of light cuts through the black. It reveals a small room, concrete walls slick with moisture, no windows, a single bare bulb overhead, flickering. And there, in the corner, Mama Beatrice, 75 years old. Rail-thin beneath a hospital gown so thin it might as well be paper. Her breath comes out in white clouds that hang in the frozen air. Her fingers clutch a small silver cross. She presses it to her cracked lips. Lord. Her voice breaks. What did I do wrong? The bulb flickers. Why did you leave me here? The light flickers once more, then dies, black. What happened to this forgotten mother, and who will save her now? Stay until the very end, to witness the miracle. 3 days before the cold, there was still warmth, or the illusion of it. The Honda Accord pulled up to Oakwood Nursing Home just after noon. The building slouched at the edge of town, peeling paint, cracked asphalt, windows gray with neglect. The sign out front read OAKWOOD, but 2 letters had fallen off years ago. Now it just said OKWD. In the back seat, Mama Beatrice sat perfectly still, hands folded over her worn leather purse. She wore her Sunday dress, the navy one with the white collar, because Jennifer had said they were going somewhere nice. Beatrice looked at the building. She knew. She wasn't stupid. But she also knew her son. Knew he needed her to pretend. So she said nothing. Almost there, Mama, Andre said from the driver's seat. His eyes stayed on the rearview mirror, not meeting hers. Jennifer turned around, all teeth and brightness. You're going to love it here. Pool. Activities, like a vacation. Her smile was wide. Her eyes were somewhere else. Beatrice looked past her, out the window. It's nice, baby. Real nice. Andre's shoulders sagged. Relief, or maybe shame. He killed the engine. Jennifer was out first, heels clicking on pavement like a countdown. Andre took longer. His hands gripped the wheel, white-knuckled. Come on, baby, Beatrice said softly. Help me out. He flinched, but he opened her door, offered his arm, the same arm she used to hold when he was small and scared of thunderstorms. He popped the trunk, pulled out her suitcase, old, battered, one wheel broken clean off. Scrape-click, scrape-click. The sound of metal dragging across asphalt made people in the parking lot turn and stare. Beatrice pretended not to notice. Inside, the lobby smelled like bleach trying to hide something rotting underneath. Fluorescent lights buzzed. A woman sat behind scratched plexiglass, scrolling her phone. Jennifer marched to the desk, already talking fast, sliding papers across the counter. Documents Beatrice had never seen. Her house, sold. Her signature, forged. Beatrice didn't know any of this yet. She just stood in the lobby, small in her Sunday dress, holding the brochure Jennifer had printed. Stock photos of old people smiling in sunlit rooms. The woman behind the desk finally looked up. Her name tag said Grist. Her face said she'd stopped caring a long time ago. Room 14, down the hall. Her eyes flicked over Beatrice, like she was inventory. Someone'll get her settled. Jennifer grabbed the key card, turned back, all sunshine. See Mama B? They'll take great care of you. Andre said nothing. Scrape-click, scrape-click. The hallway stretched forever. Doors on both sides. Behind them, coughing, moaning, a TV too loud. Room 14 was at the end. Jennifer pushed the door open. Cozy! The room was 12 by 10. 2 beds, one already occupied by a woman who stared at nothing, mouth slack. The other bed had sheets that might have been white once. A single window, bars outside. Beatrice looked at the window, at the bars. Andre, her voice was careful, gentle. Baby, talk to me. His jaw tightened. He set the suitcase down. His lips parted, almost said something, but then he caught Jennifer's look, sharp, final. His mouth closed. Mom, it's temporary. Just till we're back on our feet. Back on our feet? Beatrice took a step toward him. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. What happened to my house? We had to sell. Jennifer's tone was brisk, practical, not cruel, just matter of fact. The market was good, it was smart. But where's the... Gone. Bills, life, you understand? Beatrice looked at Andre. Really looked. Waiting for him to meet her eyes. He didn't. Mom. His voice was flat. Just stay here. We'll visit. He turned toward the door. Andre, wait. But he was already moving, leaving the suitcase behind. Maybe he forgot it. Maybe he couldn't bear to carry it back out. Scrape click. The broken wheel. Jennifer lingered at the door. You need anything, you call, okay? She placed a business card on the dresser. Her smile was genuine. That was the worst part. She actually thought she was doing the right thing. Then she was gone, too. Beatrice stood in the center of the room, alone, except for the woman in the other bed who might as well have been a ghost. She walked to the window, looked out, just in time to see the Honda pull away. Andre sat rigid in the driver's seat. Didn't look back. Jennifer was already on her phone. Then they were gone. Beatrice pressed her palm to the glass. Cold. Everything here was cold. She looked down at the brochure still in her hand, the smiling faces, the lies she'd agreed to believe. Her fingers tightened. Then, slowly, she let it fall. It drifted to the floor like a white flag. And Mama Beatrice stood at that barred window watching the empty parking lot, waiting for a car that wasn't coming back. Her lips moved. Silent. A prayer. Or maybe just his name. The first night, Beatrice didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, mattress thin as cardboard, and listened. The woman in the other bed wheezed. Down the hall, someone cried out. No one came. At dawn, footsteps, heavy, impatient. The door swung open without a knock. Nurse Grist stood in the doorway, clipboard in hand. She looked at Beatrice the way you'd look at a stain. Something to be dealt with. Up. Intake assessment. Beatrice didn't move right away. She smoothed the front of her dress first. Checked that the collar was straight. Only then did she stand. Yes, ma'am. Grist turned and walked. Expected her to follow. She did. The intake room was small, fluorescent. A metal desk. 2 chairs. Grist sat. Didn't gesture for Beatrice to do the same. Belongings. Beatrice hesitated. I don't have much. Purse. Beatrice handed it over. Watched as Grist dumped the contents onto the desk. Wallet. Kleenex. A small photo of Andre as a boy. Lipstick she hadn't worn in years. And a small glass jar, hand-labeled in faded ink. Mama's secret blend. Grist picked it up. Squinted. What's this? My spice mix. Beatrice kept her voice steady. I made it myself. For cooking. No outside food or seasoning. Health code. Grist's hand moved toward the trash. Wait! Beatrice reached out. Please, it's just spices. Paprika. Garlic. Rules are rules. The jar hit the bottom of the trash. Thunk. Beatrice stared at the can. That jar had been with her for 35 years. She'd used it to season the chicken for church potlucks. The greens she cooked for Andre when he was small. The soup she'd given to anyone who came to her door hungry. "Ma'am, could I just—" Her voice didn't break. She wouldn't let it. "Could I keep it? I won't use it." Grist looked up. Not unkind, not kind either, just blank. "You're not at home anymore, Mrs. Thompson. Sooner you accept that, the better." She stood. "Breakfast is at 7. You're late." The dining hall was long, rows of tables, 40 people maybe, most staring at nothing, some strapped into wheelchairs. Beatrice was given a tray, gray scrambled eggs, white bread, watered-down orange juice in a plastic cup. She sat at an empty table, looked down, cold, all of it. She picked up the plastic fork, put it down, and the memory came. 1990, her kitchen, small but warm, the smell of frying onions in the air. A boy sat across from her, 10 years old, skinny, clothes too big. His name was Julian. She'd found him 3 nights before digging through the church dumpster, brought him inside. Fed him. No questions asked. Now he sat at her table, staring at the plate like he didn't trust it to be real. Fried chicken, collard greens, cornbread steaming. He reached for it. "Wait, baby." Her hand covered his. Gentle, but firm. "Don't eat yet." Julian froze. She smiled. "Fold your hands." He did. Small hands. Dirt under the nails. Beatrice folded hers too, bowed her head. "Lord, thank you for this food. Thank you for this child. Amen." She looked up. Julian's eyes were wet. "Now you can eat." He picked up the chicken leg with both hands, bit into it, chewed slow, like he was trying to make it last. Beatrice didn't touch her own plate yet, just watched him. After 3 bites, Julian stopped, set the chicken down. His shoulders shook. He was crying. Beatrice reached across the table. Her thumb wiped a tear from his cheek. "It's okay, baby." He didn't ask why she was kind. He didn't need to. The answer was in her hands. A tray clattered onto the table beside her. Beatrice blinked. The memory dissolved. She was back, in the cold dining hall, staring at gray eggs that had gone cold. She looked around. No one was praying. No one was talking. They just ate. Or didn't. She folded her hands, bowed her head, whispered, "Thank you, Lord." Even now. Her voice sounded small, swallowed by the fluorescent hum. She picked up the fork, took a bite. It tasted like nothing. After breakfast, she was led back to room 14. The woman in the other bed still hadn't moved. Grist stood in the doorway. "Lunch at noon, dinner at 5, lights out at 8. No exceptions." "Yes, ma'am." Grist's hand moved to the door, paused. "You got family visiting?" Beatrice looked at her. "My son said he would." Something flickered in Grist's eyes. Pity, maybe, or just recognition. "Right." She stepped out. "Don't hold your breath." The door closed. Not slammed, just closed. Firm, final. Beatrice stood in the center of the room. Then she walked to the window, the one with bars. Looked out at the parking lot. Empty. She pressed her forehead against the glass, and for the first time since Andre left, she cried. Not loud, not desperate, just quiet. The kind of crying that happens when you realize you're alone. Outside, the sky was gray. The woman in the other bed wheezed, and Mama Beatrice stood at that window, wondering if anyone in the world still remembered her name. 40 miles away, Andre sat in his living room. New leather couch. 65-inch TV on the wall. Recessed lighting Jennifer had insisted on. $8 grand to install. All paid for with his mother's house. He stared at his phone. Had been holding it for 20 minutes. screen still dark. From the kitchen, Jennifer's voice, loud, animated, talking to her sister about backsplash tiles. Andre's thumb hovered over the screen. He pressed it. The phone lit up. At the top, in red, Mom, 47 missed calls. His chest tightened. 47, 2 weeks' worth. Before Oakwood, before they'd confiscated her phone for her safety. He scrolled through the log. 2:13 a.m., 2:47 a.m., 3:05 a.m. She'd been calling in the middle of the night, when her hip hurt, when she was alone in that house, wondering why her son wasn't answering. He'd silenced her number 3 months ago. Jennifer's idea. Andre pulled up his contacts, found Oakwood Nursing Home. His finger hovered over the call button, just to check in, just to make sure. Andre? He flinched, locked the phone, shoved it into his pocket. Jennifer stood in the doorway, arms crossed, not smiling. What are you doing? Nothing, just scrolling. Her eyes narrowed. She walked over, slow. Let me see your phone. Jen, now. He handed it over. She unlocked it, looked at the screen. Her jaw tightened. You were going to call her. I just wanted to make sure. Make sure of what? Her voice was sharp, controlled. That she's okay? Andre, we just spent $40,000 on this house. You know where that money came from. I know. Do you? She stepped closer. Because every time you think about her, you're thinking about bringing her back. And if she comes back, all of this, she gestured at the room, goes away. The debt comes back. We lose everything. Andre looked down. She's my mom, and I'm your wife. Jennifer's voice softened. She sat beside him, hand on his knee. Baby, I know this is hard, but she's safer there. Professional care, she's better off. Andre said nothing. Jennifer tilted his chin up, made him look at her. You did the right thing. He wanted to believe her, so he nodded. Good. She kissed his forehead, stood, handed back his phone. Now delete those calls. You don't need that sitting there. She walked back to the kitchen. Andre stared at the screen. Mom, 47. Missed calls. His thumb hovered. Delete? His hand trembled. He closed his eyes, pressed down. The red number disappeared. He set the phone on the table, face down, and leaned back into the expensive couch his mother had paid for. At Oakwood, Beatrice stood in the hallway. A payphone hung on the wall. Old, metal cord. Buttons yellowed with age. She'd been standing there for 10 minutes. Finally, she stepped forward, picked up the receiver. It was sticky. She wiped it on her dress, dialed Andre's number, the one she'd memorized 40 years ago. It rang. Once, twice. Please, baby. 3 times, 4, 5. Voicemail. You've reached Andre. Leave a message. Beep. Beatrice opened her mouth. No words came. She hung up. Dialed again. Voicemail. Hung up. Tried a 3rd time. Footsteps behind her. Heavy. What are you doing? Beatrice turned. Nurse Grist stood there, arms crossed. I'm calling my son. Grist walked over, reached past her, pressed the cradle down. The line went dead. Ma'am, I was... Grist looked at her, not angry, just tired. No one's picking up anyway. The words hung in the air. Beatrice's fingers tightened around the receiver. He will. He's just busy. He said he'd... They always say that. Grist's voice was flat, not cruel, just factual. Go back to your room, Mrs. Thompson. Beatrice stood there, receiver still in her hand. Grist raised an eyebrow. Beatrice hung up the phone, turned, walked back down the long hallway, past the doors, past the sounds of coughing and silence, back to room 14. The woman in the other bed hadn't moved. Beatrice sat on her bed, folded her hands, and stared at the window. at the empty parking lot beyond the bars, waiting for headlights that never came. 1 week passed. The rhythm of Oakwood was a slow death. Wake at 6, meds at 7, food at 8, lights out at 8. In between, silence. Beatrice learned that silence wasn't peace, it was sedation. The woman in the other bed, Miss Clara, spent her days staring at the ceiling, mouth open, lost in a chemical fog. Beatrice ate alone, walked alone, and every evening she watched the parking lot, waiting for a car that never came. On the 7th day, the breaking point arrived. Breakfast, gray eggs, dry toast. Beatrice picked at her food. Across the table, Miss Clara stared at her tray. Her hand hovered over her plastic spoon. It trembled violently. The tremors of Parkinson's, or maybe just weakness. Clara tried to grip the spoon. It clattered against the tray. She tried again. Missed. She let out a soft whimper, dropped her hand, closed her eyes in defeat. Beatrice looked around. The staff were clustered by the nurse's station, laughing at a phone screen. Beatrice reached over, slid her slice of toast onto Clara's napkin. "Here," she whispered. "It's easier to hold. Eat." Clara's eyes opened. She looked at the bread, then at Beatrice. She grabbed the toast with a shaking hand, ate it in messy, desperate bites. Beatrice felt a spark in her chest, the first warmth she'd felt in days. This, she thought, this I can still do. Dinner came. Beatrice didn't eat her roll. She wrapped it in a napkin, slipped it into her pocket for later. She was halfway to her room when the voice cut through the air. "Mrs. Thompson." Beatrice froze. Nurse Grist stood by the med cart. Her eyes were cold, calculating. "Empty your pockets." I don't have anything." "Don't lie to me." Grist held out a hand. "Now." Beatrice reached in, pulled out the bread roll. Grist looked at it with disgust. "Stealing food?" "I'm not stealing. It was my dinner. I was saving it for Miss Clara." "Miss Clara?" Grist stepped closer. "Miss Clara is on a level 2 dysphagia diet, pureed foods only. She was hungry, she couldn't hold her spoon, So you gave her a choking hazard?" Grist snatched the roll, tossed it into the trash. "You want to kill her? Because that's what you're doing, breaking protocol." "I was feeding her." Beatrice's voice rose. "She is starving, and you people just watch her fade away." The hallway went silent. Grist's face didn't change. "We keep them alive, Mrs. Thompson. That is the job. Not happy, alive." She pointed a finger down the hall. "Room 7, storage. Cool off until you learn the rules. You can't move." Room 7 wasn't a room. It was a supply closet, unheated. Grist shoved her in. Click. The lock turned. The cold hit instantly. It wasn't just the temperature, it was the dampness. It seeped through Beatrice's thin gown, biting into her bones. She sat on the concrete floor, pulled her knees to her chest. Her breath came out in white puffs. Hoo. She watched the steam rise from her lips. And suddenly, she wasn't in a closet anymore. 1990. A stormy night. Beatrice stood in her kitchen. The oven door was open, blasting heat into the small room. Julian sat on a stool in front of it, 10 years old, soaked to the bone, shivering so hard his teeth clicked. Beatrice stood behind him, rubbing his shoulders with a thick towel. "I got you, baby," she murmured. "Feel that heat?" Julian nodded, leaning toward the open oven. The orange coil glowed like a small sun. "It's warm," he whispered. Beatrice wrapped her arms around him from behind, resting her chin on his wet head. "As long as I'm here, you'll never be cold." I promise. The memory dissolved. Beatrice opened her eyes. The orange glow of the oven was gone, replaced by the harsh blue shadow of the storage room. She was the one shivering now. "Julian," she whispered. Her breath formed a cloud. "I promised you." Her teeth began to chatter. Tap, tap, tap. She curled tighter into a ball. The cold was a weight, pressing her down, heavy and inevitable. "Lord," she breathed. "I'm so tired." Her eyes fluttered shut. Have you ever felt powerless watching someone you love being treated unfairly? Leave a prayer for Mama Beatrice in the comments below. Outside, a sleek black town car glided to a stop at the front entrance. The engine purred. Expensive. A driver stepped out, opened the rear door. A man emerged. Tailored Italian suit. Polished shoes that reflected the streetlights. He looked up at the peeling sign, OKWD. His jaw tightened. He didn't look like a man visiting a relative. He looked like a man coming to collect a debt. Julian walked toward the doors. Inside the closet, Beatrice slumped sideways. The cold bit through her skin, slowing her heart. She didn't hear the car. She didn't hear the footsteps approaching the building. She only heard the silence. And then, nothing. The town car sat in the parking lot like a diamond in a junkyard. Black, sleek, worth more than the entire building. Julian stepped out. Italian leather shoes met cracked asphalt. He straightened his cuffs, silk, custom-tailored, and looked up at the sign. OKWD. His jaw tightened. The driver opened the rear door of the building. Julian walked through without waiting for an invitation. Inside, the smell hit him first. Bleach, urine, something rotting underneath. He stopped just past the threshold. Looked around. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The floor was sticky. A TV in the corner played static to no one. Julian's eyes swept the lobby like a surveyor cataloging damage. His assistant, Marcus, appeared at his elbow, tablet in hand. "Mr. Cross, the administrator is—" "I see her." Behind the plexiglass, Nurse Grist scrambled to her feet, phone still in hand. She shoved it into a drawer, smoothed her hair, forced a smile. It didn't reach her eyes. She buzzed the door open, stepped out, extended a hand. "Mr. Cross, what an honor. We weren't expecting Julian didn't take her hand. He walked past her, down the main hallway. Grist's smile faltered. She hurried after him, heels clicking. "Sir, if you'd just—" Julian stopped. Looked into the dining hall. 40 people. Most slumped in wheelchairs. Some staring at trays of cold food. One woman in the corner rocked back and forth, humming to herself. No staff in sight. Julian's fingers curled into fists. "Where are your nurses?" Grist cleared her throat. "Lunch break, they're—" "All of them?" Silence. Julian turned, looked at her. Really looked. She shifted her weight. "We're understaffed. Budget cuts. You understand." "I understand perfectly." He kept walking, down the long corridor, past open doors. The sounds leaked out, coughing, moaning, the creak of old beds. Grist followed, talking faster now, nervous. "Mr. Cross, if you're here to tour the facility, I can show you our updated wing. It's much nicer. We've recently—" Julian stopped, his head tilted, a sound, faint, almost swallowed by the fluorescent hum, a voice, soft, rhythmic, praying. His pulse quickened. He turned left, toward a door at the end of the hall, metal, rusted hinges, a handwritten sign, storage. The voice came from behind it. Julian's feet moved before his mind caught up. "Sir, that's just—" Grist stepped in front of him, blocking the door. "That's maintenance. Nothing to see." Julian looked down at her. His voice dropped. Quiet, firm. Move. Mr. Cross, I really don't think... Move. Something in his tone made her step aside. Julian's hand reached for the door handle. It was locked. He looked at Grist. Didn't say a word. Her hand trembled as she pulled a key ring from her pocket. Fumbled with the keys. It's just a storage closet. We sometimes... Open it. She slid the key into the lock. Click. The door swung open. Cold air rushed out, and there, on the concrete floor, curled into a ball. A woman. 75 years old. Hospital gown thin as paper. Skin ashen. Breath coming in shallow gasps. Her lips moved, barely audible. Thank you, Lord. Even now. Julian's world stopped. The hallway disappeared. The sounds faded. Everything narrowed to the figure on the floor. His throat closed. He knew that voice. 35 years. 35 years since he'd heard it. But he knew. His knees almost buckled. Mama Beatrice? The woman's eyes fluttered open. Unfocused. Glazed. Julian dropped to the floor beside her. His hands, trembling now, reached out. Mama? Her eyes found his face, struggled to focus. Then, recognition flickered. Julian? The word broke him. He pulled off his jacket, wrapped it around her shoulders. His hands rubbed her arms, trying to bring warmth back into her frozen skin. I'm here. I'm here. Behind him, Grist's voice, panicked. Mr. Cross, I can explain. Julian didn't turn around. His voice came out low, controlled, the kind of calm that precedes a storm. Get out. Sir, if you'd just let me... Get out. Grist's footsteps retreated. Julian lifted Beatrice into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. Her head rested against his chest. Her fingers, those same fingers that had once wiped tears from his face, clutched weakly at his shirt. I knew, she whispered. I knew someone would come. Julian's vision blurred. He carried her out of that frozen hell, down the hallway, past the shocked staff, past the empty dining hall. Marcus held the door open. Julian didn't stop until he reached the town car, laid her gently in the back seat, cranked the heat to maximum. He knelt beside the open door, held her hand. You're safe now, I promise. Beatrice's eyes closed. A tear slid down her cheek. Julian looked back at the building, at the peeling paint, the broken sign, the barred windows, his jaw set. He climbed into the car beside her. The door closed. And as the engine purred to life, Julian held her hand tighter. 35 years. He'd waited 35 years. Now it was time to make things right. The town car glided through empty streets. Inside, silence. Julian sat beside Beatrice. The heat blasted, but she still trembled. He held her hand, rubbed warmth back into her fingers. The hospital 10 minutes away, Marcus said from the front seat. Julian nodded. Didn't let go. Beatrice's eyes were closed. Her breathing steadier now, but her grip on his hand tight, like she was afraid he'd disappear. Julian, her voice cracked. I'm here. You came back. The words gutted him. He looked down at their hands. Hers, wrinkled, spotted with age, fingers thin as twigs. His, strong, manicured, wearing a Rolex worth more than most people's cars. But 35 years ago, their hands have been different. That's 1990. Rain hammered the roof of the small kitchen. Julian sat at the table, 10 years old. Soaking wet, shivering. Steam rose from the open oven door. Beatrice stood at the counter, hands moving fast. She turned, set a plate in front of him, a sandwich, thick slices of bread, peanut butter, grape jelly, cut diagonal. Julian stared at it. His hands hovered over the plate, trembling. "Go on, baby." He grabbed it with both hands, bit into it, chewed fast, too fast. Beatrice sat across from him, watched. "Slow down. It's not going anywhere." But Julian couldn't. 3 days since he'd eaten. The sandwich disappeared in less than a minute. He reached for the second half, then stopped, looked at Beatrice. She hadn't taken a bite of her own food. "Why aren't you eating?" Beatrice smiled. "I'm not hungry." But Julian saw her hands, how they folded over her stomach, how her eyes flickered to the sandwich. She was hungry. She'd given him her portion. Julian's throat tightened. He set the sandwich down, pushed the plate toward her. "You eat it. Baby, please." Beatrice's smile softened. She reached across the table. Her thumb wiped a tear from his cheek, mixed with rainwater. "Listen to me." Her voice was gentle, but firm. "You never know which hand you feed today will be the hand that saves you tomorrow." Julian didn't understand. Beatrice picked up the second half of the sandwich, broke it in two, handed him one piece. "We eat together. Deal?" Julian nodded. They ate in silence. The rain drummed on, and for the first time in months, Julian felt warm. The car hit a pothole. Julian blinked. The memory dissolved. He was back, in the town car, holding Beatrice's hand. She was looking at him now, eyes wet. "You remembered." Julian's voice came out hoarse. "Every word. I didn't think—" She paused, swallowed. "I didn't think I'd see you again. I should have come sooner." His grip tightened. "I should have. You're here now." Silence. Then Beatrice's face changed. Something darker crept in. "My son," her voice dropped. "He's the one who—" "I know. Julian, he's not a bad man. He's just weak." Julian's jaw set. "Weak men do bad things when no one's watching." Beatrice looked down. "He used to be different. People change. Can they change back?" Julian didn't answer right away. He looked out the window, watched the streetlights blur past. "I don't know." The car pulled up to the hospital, emergency entrance. Marcus opened the door. A nurse rushed out with a wheelchair. Julian helped Beatrice out, lowered her gently into the chair. The nurse began wheeling her inside. Beatrice's hand shot out, grabbed Julian's wrist. "Don't hurt him." Julian stopped. "I mean it." Her voice was stronger now. "Whatever you're planning, don't hurt my boy." Julian looked at her, at this woman who'd been locked in a freezer, abandoned, left to die, and still, she was protecting her son. Something cracked inside him. "I won't hurt him." His voice was measured, careful. "But he will face what he's done." Beatrice studied his face, then nodded. "That's fair." The nurse wheeled her through the automatic doors. Julian stood there, watched until she disappeared into the bright lights of the ER. Then he turned. Marcus stood beside the car, tablet in hand. "Sir, I have the information you requested." Julian walked over, took the tablet. Andre Thompson, age 50, unemployed. Residence, 428 Maple Drive. Recent transaction, $40,000 home renovation. Source, sale of mother's property. Spouse, Jennifer Thompson. Fraud investigation pending. Julian handed the tablet back. "Contact them. Tell them the new owner of Oakwood wants to discuss their mother's care and a settlement." Marcus nodded. "When?" "Tomorrow, noon, Oakwood's conference room." "They'll come?" Julian's eyes went cold. "Tell them there's money involved. They'll come." He climbed back into the car. The door closed, and as the town car pulled away, Julian looked down at his hands, still felt the weight of hers, still heard her voice from 35 years ago. You never know which hand you feed today will be the hand that saves you tomorrow. He'd been the starving boy then. Now he was the hand that would deliver justice. The conference room at Oakwood smelled like lemon cleaner and desperation. Jennifer arrived first. She swept through the door in a red blazer and heels that clicked like a metronome. Her eyes scanned the room. Mahogany table, leather chairs, a pitcher of water no one would drink. She smiled. Money. This room smelled like money. Andre followed behind, slower. His suit was wrinkled. He hadn't slept. His eyes darted to the corners of the room like he expected something to jump out. "Relax," Jennifer hissed. She sat down, crossed her legs. "This is good news." Andre pulled out a chair, sat. His hands gripped the armrests. "Maybe we should ask about—" "Don't." Jennifer's smile didn't waver, but her voice dropped, sharp. "Don't say her name. We're here for the settlement. That's it." Andre's jaw tightened. He looked at the empty chair at the head of the table, high-backed, leather, facing away from them. Someone was sitting there. He could see the edge of a shoulder. Dark fabric. Expensive. "Mr. Cross will be with you shortly," a voice said. Andre turned. A man in a gray suit stood by the door, tablet in hand. Marcus. "Mr. Cross?" Jennifer leaned forward. "I thought we were meeting with the facility administrator." "Change of plans." Marcus didn't smile. "Mr. Cross is the new owner. He wants to handle this personally." Jennifer's eyes lit up. New owner, rich, personal interest. The settlement just got bigger. "Of course." She smoothed her blazer. "We're happy to speak with him." Marcus nodded. Set a leather folder on the table. "The documents." Jennifer pulled it toward her, flipped it open. Her smile widened. Settlement agreement. Oakwood Nursing Home. Neglect case. Beatrice Thompson. "Neglect?" Andre's voice cracked. "What happened? Is she—" "She's fine," Marcus said, flat. "Now." Jennifer shot Andre a look. "Shut up." She skimmed the document. Her finger traced the lines. Conditions. Full release of liability. No further legal action. Confidentiality clause. Compensation to be determined upon signing. "To be determined?" Jennifer looked up. "What does that mean?" "It means," a voice said from the chair, "that depends on you." The chair turned. Julian faced them. Dark suit, white shirt, no tie. His hands folded on the table. His expression, calm, unreadable. Jennifer's smile returned. Full wattage. "Mr. Cross, thank you for meeting with us. We understand this is a difficult situation, but—" "Do you?" Jennifer blinked. "Excuse me?" Julian leaned back. His eyes moved from Jennifer to Andre. Andre looked away. "Your mother," Julian said. His voice was measured, quiet. "Beatrice Thompson, 75 years old. You placed her here 3 weeks ago." Andre's throat bobbed. "And?" Jennifer's tone sharpened, defensive. "We put her in a care facility. That's what families do." "You sold her house." Silence. Jennifer recovered fast. "The market was good. We made a smart financial decision." "Did she agree to it?" "She signed the papers." Julian's eyes didn't leave hers. "Did she?" Jennifer's smile thinned. "What exactly are you implying, Mr. Cross?" Julian didn't answer. He slid a piece of paper across the table. Jennifer picked it up. Her face went pale. Forensic document analysis. Signature, Beatrice Thompson. Conclusion, forgery. The paper slipped from her fingers. Andre's hands gripped the armrests tighter, his knuckles white. "This is—" Jennifer's voice climbed. This is ridiculous. We have documentation, legal documentation, forged documentation. You can't prove. I can. Julian's voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. I already have. Jennifer stood, chair scraped back. We're leaving. Sit down. Something in his tone made her freeze. Julian's eyes locked on hers. You came here for money, so let's talk about money. Jennifer sat. Slowly, Julian gestured to the folder. Sign the document. Admit to fraud. Agree to repay every cent stolen from Beatrice Thompson. And if we don't? Julian's expression didn't change. Then I call the police. They're waiting outside. Jennifer's face drained of color. Andre's head snapped up. The police? Fraud. Forgery. Elder abuse. Julian's voice was clinical, detached. 3 felonies, 5 to 10 years each. Jennifer's hand shot out, grabbed the pen. Fine, we'll sign. We'll pay it back, just... I'm not finished. She froze. Julian leaned forward. You'll also surrender custody of all assets acquired through the sale, the house, the car, everything. That's... Jennifer's voice shook. Rage, fear, both. That's everything we have. I know. Andre spoke, voice barely audible. Can I see her? Julian's eyes shifted to him. For the first time, something flickered in his expression. Not sympathy, recognition. No. Andre flinched like he'd been slapped. She doesn't want to see you. The words hung in the air. Andre's shoulders sagged, his head dropped. Jennifer grabbed his arm, hissed. Sign the paper. We'll figure it out later. Andre stared at the document, his mother's name at the top. His hand trembled as he reached for the pen. Andre. Jennifer's grip tightened. Sign it. Now. This is our way out. He picked up the pen, pressed it to paper. His hand shook so hard, the ink smeared. Jennifer snatched it from him, signed her name in one smooth stroke. She looked up at Julian, eyes defiant. There. Done. We'll pay it back. You have your justice. Julian didn't move. He reached into his jacket, pulled out his phone, pressed a button. The door opened. 2 police officers walked in. Jennifer's face went white. What? Mrs. Thompson, the first officer said. You're under arrest for fraud and forgery. No. No, wait. Jennifer stood, backed away. We signed. We agreed. The officer pulled out handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. Jennifer's eyes shot to Julian, wild, panicked. You said... Julian's voice was ice. I said I'd call them if you didn't sign. You signed, so I called them anyway. Jennifer lunged toward him. The officers caught her, pulled her back. You lied. Julian stood, looked down at her. Yes. His voice was quiet, final. I did. The officers led her toward the door. She thrashed, screamed. Andre, tell them! He was part of it. Arrest him too. Andre sat frozen, staring at nothing. The door slammed shut. Silence. Julian looked down at Andre, the man who'd abandoned his mother, the man who'd sold her house, the man who'd locked her away to die. Andre's lips moved. I'm sorry. Julian's jaw tightened. He turned toward the door. Sorry isn't enough. The door clicked shut. Silence. Andre sat at the table, shoulders hunched, hands trembling in his lap. Julian stood behind him, didn't speak, just walked. Slowly around the table. Tap, 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 the sound of Italian leather on hard wood, each step deliberate, measured. Andre's breathing grew shallow. Please. His voice cracked. Just arrest me. Get it over with. Julian didn't answer. He completed the circle, stopped at the head of the table, reached into his jacket, pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper, set it on the table, unwrapped it slowly. A piece of cloth emerged, Old, faded, hand-embroidered at the edges, a tablecloth. Andre stared at it, his breath caught. "Where did you—" Julian's fingers traced the worn fabric. "You remember it." It wasn't a question. Andre's hand reached out, stopped halfway, pulled back. That was from her kitchen." "Yes?" Andre looked up, eyes red, confused. "I don't understand. Who are you? Why are you doing this?" Julian picked up the tablecloth, held it between them. 1990, he said quietly. A 10-year-old boy, starving, digging through dumpsters behind a church. Andre's face went pale. "Your mother found him, brought him inside, sat him at her table." Julian's voice didn't rise, but every word landed like a hammer. "She gave him half her sandwich. The only food she had." Andre's hands gripped the edge of the table. "She laid this cloth out first," Julian continued, "even though the table was scratched and old, even though she barely had anything. She said, His voice caught, just for a moment. "She said everyone deserves to eat with dignity." Silence. Andre's lips trembled. "Julian?" The name came out as a whisper. Julian set the tablecloth down in front of him. "Your mother fed me with hands worn rough from washing other people's floors." His voice dropped. Cold. "And you used your hands to sign her life away." Andre's face crumpled. I didn't know it was you. I didn't." "No." Julian leaned forward, both hands flat on the table. "You didn't need to know who I was. You just needed to remember who she was." Andre shook his head, tears spilling down his cheeks. "I was weak. Jennifer, she kept pushing, and I just—" "You chose her over your mother." The words hung in the air. Andre's shoulders shook. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" Julian's jaw tightened. "That's what you said on the phone, when you left her at the door." "Sorry, Mom. Just a few days. Remember?" Andre covered his face with his hands. "She called you 47 times, Julian continued, voice steady, relentless. "Middle of the night, when she was alone, scared. You silenced her number." "Stop." "She stood at a payphone, dialed your number over and over. No one answered." "Please." "She froze in a storage closet, praying, wondering why God abandoned her." Andre slid from his chair, dropped to his knees, grabbed the tablecloth with both hands, pressed it to his face, and sobbed. Not the quiet tears of earlier. This was something deeper, guttural, the sound of a man breaking. Julian stood over him, watched, no satisfaction in his eyes, just cold, clear purpose. "Jail is too easy for you," he said quietly. Andre looked up, face streaked with tears and snot. "Then what? What do you want from me?" Julian reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, dropped it on the table. Andre didn't move. "Pick it up." Andre's hands shook as he reached for it, unfolded it. Read. Community service agreement, duration 1,000 hours, location Oakwood Nursing Home, position sanitation technician. Andre's eyes widened. "You'll clean toilets," Julian said, voice flat. "Mop floors, empty bedpans, every day, for the next year?" I don't—" "You'll see what your mother saw, smell what she smelled, feel what she felt." Andre stared at the paper. "And if I refuse?" Julian's expression didn't change. "Then the officer outside arrests you. Fraud, forgery, elder abuse. 10 years minimum." He leaned down. His voice dropped to a whisper. "But if you do this, if you serve every single hour, if you look into the eyes of every forgotten mother and father in this building—" He paused. Maybe, maybe, she'll forgive you. Andre's hands clutched the paper. His whole body shook. Will she see me? Julian straightened, walked toward the door, stopped, didn't turn around. That's up to her. He opened the door. The officer stepped in. Julian looked back one last time at Andre, on his knees, holding his mother's tablecloth. You have 24 hours to decide. He walked out. The door closed. Andre knelt on the floor, alone. The tablecloth pressed to his chest, and for the first time in his life, he understood what his mother had tried to teach him. You never know which hand you feed today will be the hand that saves you tomorrow. He'd been given that chance, and he'd thrown it away. Now all he could do was pray for another. Andre stayed on his knees, the tablecloth clutched in his hands. The door opened. Julian walked back in. Andre's head snapped up, eyes swollen, face streaked with tears. I'll do it, he said, voice hoarse. Whatever you want, I'll do it. Julian closed the door behind him, walked to the table, sat down. The police have offered you a deal. Andre blinked. A deal? Testify against your wife, full cooperation, in exchange. Julian's fingers drummed once on the table. Suspended sentence? No jail time. Andre's breath caught. You mean the law will spare you? Julian's voice was ice. I won't. Silence. Julian reached beside his chair, pulled up a gray bundle, dropped it on the table. It unfolded. A uniform. Gray shirt. Gray pants. Name tag slot empty. A janitor's uniform. 1,000 hours, Julian said. Community service. Right here, at Oakwood. Andre stared at it. You'll start tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. You'll clean toilets, mop floors, empty bedpans. Julian leaned forward. You'll scrub the same hallways your mother was dragged through. The same floors she bled dignity on. Andre's hands trembled. And when I'm done, maybe, she'll look at you again. Andre picked up the uniform. Rough fabric, cheap. He stood slowly, looked down at his expensive suit. His hands moved to his jacket, slipped it off. Then the vest, the tie. He unbuttoned his shirt, let it fall. Stood there in his undershirt, then picked up the gray uniform, put it on. It was too small, tight across the shoulders. The fabric scratched. He pulled on the pants. They hung loose at the waist. He looked down at himself, unrecognizable. Julian stood. Marcus will take you to the supply closet. Andre nodded, couldn't speak. Julian walked to the door, stopped. One more thing. Every resident here has a story. You'll learn their names. All of them. Yes, sir. Julian nodded once, walked out. The supply closet smelled like ammonia and mildew. Marcus handed Andre a mop, a yellow bucket, rubber gloves. Bathrooms are down the hall, Marcus said. No emotion. Start with the men's room. Third stall is backed up. Andre took the supplies. His hands that had signed documents, shaken hands at business lunches, now gripped a mop handle. He walked down the hallway, past rooms where old people sat in wheelchairs, past the dining hall, to the bathroom. He pushed the door open. The smell hit him. He gagged, stepped inside. The third stall, door hanging crooked, toilet overflowing. Andre set down the bucket, pulled on the rubber gloves, knelt down, and started scrubbing. He scrubbed hard, desperate. The brush slipped, splash. Dirty gray water flew up. It hit his face, his cheek, his lip. Andre froze. The old Andre would have gagged, would have run to the sink, scrubbing his skin raw to get the filth off. This Andre didn't move. He felt the cold, foul water run down his face. It stung. It smelled of rot. He didn't wipe it away. He didn't turn his head. He just closed his eyes for a second, accepted it, a baptism of dirt. Then he opened his eyes and kept scrubbing. Down the hall, through the walls, he heard the sounds of oak wood, coughing, moaning, the creak of wheelchairs, the forgotten, the abandoned, just like his mother. Andre's vision blurred, not from the fumes, from tears. He wiped his face with his forearm, smearing the dirty water with his sweat. And for the first time in months, he wasn't running from what he'd done. He was facing it, one filthy toilet at a time. Outside the bathroom, a nurse walked past, glanced in, saw the man in gray on his knees, kept walking. Just another janitor. Nobody special, nobody at all. And Andre realized that's exactly what he needed to become 3 months later. Oakwood didn't look the same. The sign out front had been replaced. Fresh paint, new letters, Beatrice home. Inside, the fluorescent lights were gone, replaced with soft LED panels. The floors gleamed, the walls repainted in warm cream. Plants lined the hallways, real ones. The dining hall had been transformed. White tablecloths, fresh flowers, music playing softly, old gospel hymns. It was Sunday. The residents sat at tables, not alone, in groups, talking, some even smiling. At the head of the room, a table had been set apart. Beatrice sat there in her wheelchair, hair styled, wearing a purple dress. She looked smaller than before, frailer, but her eyes were clear. Julian stood beside her. Dark suit, no tie. He leaned down, whispered something. She nodded. Then he looked toward the kitchen door. "You can come out now." The door opened slowly. Andre stepped through. Gray janitor uniform, work boots. His hands were rough now, calloused, nails broken and dirty despite scrubbing. He'd lost weight. His face was thinner, lines deeper. But his eyes, they weren't empty anymore. He held a tray. On it, a plate of food. Roasted chicken, greens, cornbread, steaming. The dining hall went silent. Every eye turned to him. Andre walked forward, each step careful. The tray trembled in his hands. He reached the table, stopped, looked down at his mother. She looked up at him. Neither spoke. Andre's throat worked. He tried to find words, couldn't. So he just set the tray down in front of her. His hands shook as he placed the plate just so, made sure the napkin was folded right, the fork on the left, knife on the right, exactly how she'd taught him. 40 years ago. Beatrice looked at the plate, then at her son. Her hand reached out, slowly, took his. Andre's breath hitched. "Mama," his voice cracked. "I'm sorry." The words spilled out raw, the language of a child seeking home. Before ambition, before he forgot who he was. Beatrice's thumb rubbed across his knuckles. She felt the calluses, the rough skin, the evidence of work. Her eyes filled. "Sit down, baby." Andre's knees buckled. He pulled out the chair beside her, sat. His hands covered his face, shoulders shaking. Beatrice reached over. Her fingers, thin, fragile, touched his head, smoothed his hair. The same gesture she'd given Julian 35 years ago. The same gesture she'd given Andre when he was small and scared. "We eat together," she said softly. Andre looked up, tears streaming down his face. Beatrice picked up the fork, cut a piece of chicken, put it on a smaller plate, handed it to him. Just like she'd done with the sandwich, just like she'd done for Julian. Divided, shared, because that's what love does. Andre took the plate with trembling hands, picked up the fork, took a bite. It tasted like forgiveness. Across the room, Julian watched, his chest tight. Marcus stood beside him. "Sir, the board meeting is in an hour." Julian didn't move. "Cancel it." "Sir?" "I said cancel it." He couldn't look away. From the mother and son, eating together, quietly. No words needed now. You never know which hand you feed today will be the hand that saves you tomorrow. The mantra echoed in his mind. But now he understood something deeper. Sometimes the hand you save today is the same hand that once hurt you. And that isn't just survival, that's grace. Later, after the meal, Julian walked Beatrice back to her room. Not a room anymore, a suite. Sunlight streamed through large windows, no bars. He helped her into her chair by the window. "You didn't have to forgive him," Julian said quietly. Beatrice looked up at him. "Yes, I did. He abandoned you. And I forgave him." Her voice was firm, gentle. Just like someone once forgave a little boy who was too proud to say thank you for 35 years. Julian's jaw tightened. She reached for his hand. He took it. "You came back," she said. "That's all that matters." Julian knelt beside her chair. "I should have come sooner. You came when I needed you most." She smiled. "That's God's timing, baby, not ours." He rested his head against her hand. And for the first time since he was 10 years old, Julian Cross let himself cry. The view widens, through the window, out over the parking lot, now full of visitors' cars, over the new sign, Beatrice Home. The sun is setting. Golden light spills across everything. And inside, in a small room with no bars, a mother holds the hand of the man who saved her. While down the hall, her son scrubs floors, learning what his hands were always meant to do. Not take, but serve. Not abandon, but return. Not destroy, but rebuild. One day at a time. One act of love at a time. Until the debt is paid. Not in money, but in grace. Forgiveness is the hardest gift to give. If you were Mama Beatrice, would you have forgiven Andre? Share your thoughts below.